Hello, I'm Ruben Wright, and welcome to the Right Direction. Today I want to talk about some interesting news. I want to talk about Sony. Sony had some interesting news this week with its acquisition and attempted purchase at Crunchyroll. Yes, they are looking to buy a new property, and reportedly for $950 million, close to $1 billion, Sony wants to buy Crunchyroll. Now, there's some interesting things behind this deal, and there's some interesting kind of stipulations, as well as, I guess, what you could call some interesting things that could come out of this. Well, I think the first thing is, what is Crunchyroll? Well, if you're not familiar with Crunchyroll, it is a streaming platform like the likes of Disney Plus and Netflix, as well as Hulu, but focuses on anime and manga content. That is their primary focus and kind of where they have made their big bang. That is all they focus on, anime content being the main thing they stream, but also having the ability to read various manga issues. So the main focus of their company is someone from, let's say, the United States is looking to watch the brand new and biggest anime content that is coming out of the anime industry, and they are able to watch it through simulcast, through Crunchyroll, from where it originally aired, with English subtitles, eventually sometimes English dubs and things like that. But that is their niche. Their niche is anime content that is streaming, but they are a very big company, and Sony has kind of caught attention to that. Now, Sony knows that culture. Sony being a Japanese country based in Japan, they know the anime culture, they know the success of anime culture, they know the success of manga. And they have identified this being as a key area that they could actually up their platform, being Sony just as a company, not just as gaming, not just as releasing products, but as Sony as a company, a division they think they can add to their company. And really what this is a foray to is Sony into the streaming industry. They want to rival the Disney Plus, the Netflix, the Hulu. That is their interest. They want to move into that area, get a little cut of it. And I think what they've done is identify a streaming niche. Now, Netflix and Hulu do have some rights to anime content. If you go on their platforms, they have bought rights to certain shows that have some popularity, as well as produced some Netflix originals, I believe. I don't think Hulu has had any originals, but Netflix has produced some anime originals to add to their platform. Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is I think what Sony has identified is that Crunchyroll really does hold somewhat of a semi-monopoly on the niche of anime streaming. There are other companies, one that comes to mind, HiDev, also out there, but Crunchyroll really is the one-stop shop for anime content, and they have been for a couple of years now, with various just promotional efforts, as well as just kind of brand awareness that they've gotten out there. And why exactly do I believe Sony has kind of moved into this area? Well, I think there's two reasons. One, what I just identified, I do think that they generally see this as a niche that they can captivate and have an ability to then compete against the likes of Disney, Netflix, and Hulu, and various other streaming platforms, as a way to just get their foray as being a big tech brand into those areas. They want to be similar to how Disney has been buying properties, move into an area that can help them just expand their business. And that is the second point. They want to expand their business. They want to expand their revenue in order to, at the end of the day, increase profits. Sony, of course, being involved in many different areas of business. Not only when you think of Sony, do you think of video games with PlayStation. They also own produce TVs, various surround sound systems, stereo systems. So they're involved in many different facets, as well as just other things than just those ones I named. But when you think of them, usually it is gaming. I think a lot of people do think of them as a big producer of TVs, though, as well. But gaming be the top thing with PlayStation. But as a company, I think this is an interesting move. I think this is looking to increase revenue as well as add another division to their company to kind of move the company further along. Now, $950 million, of course, a lot of money, but I think there's a lot of money that they can recoup fast. And I think the big interest in this story, and I think a lot of the interest that will come out of this story is, was this a response action? Of course, just a couple of weeks ago, Microsoft bought Bethesda Game Studios, a very well-known game studios that owns the properties to video games such as Fallout, Elder Scrolls being their big ones, Doom, things like that. And it was a major purchase for Microsoft, I think being around $3 to $4 billion. And it was a very big gaming story and a very just big, honestly, just, business story with the amount of money that is transaction, and Microsoft being a publicly traded company on the stock market. And I think the main interest story with this Sony story is, I think, is it a potential response action to a move like that? Though being a little different, of course, Microsoft being more targeted to help Xbox really move into the next generation of gaming consoles and gaming itself with the purchase of Bethesda. However, Sony's move is definitely not an action that helps PlayStation. Maybe PlayStation as a, more than just a video game console, it might help, but really this move seems to help Sony just as an overall company. And as much as I don't think it's a necessary full-on response to buying Bethesda, I think this is somewhat of a response, but this is somewhat of a response in it being a business response. This move will not help PlayStation beat Microsoft in the next console gaming generation in any way. Yes, there are a lot of, you can see there are a lot of gamers that also watch anime, but this is not a move that is going to help sell consoles as it is. You can watch Crunchyroll on your phone, you can watch Crunchyroll on your computer. There's many other options that if they restricted it to not going to just the Xbox Series X, which of course I don't think they would, as it would probably lose them profit. But I think, as I was saying, it's a business move. Sony wants to increase profits to help make the company more profitable. And I think that does raise an interesting question. Sony always brings up the idea that the reason the Xbox Game Pass will not work in a Sony-style Game Pass is because they don't believe it is profitable. They don't believe their company, which does make a lot of sense when you think about their company. The difference between Microsoft and Sony, Microsoft having a lot of other assets other than just Xbox. So they can bankroll, take the losses from Xbox Game Pass that they are definitely incurring from just giving out games pretty much for free with the Xbox Game Pass that Sony cannot. Sony does not make as much revenue as Microsoft, but this move could see a foray into Sony being able to start taking those similar actions. Streaming, especially with Crunchyroll, if they're able to keep the subscription numbers up, as well as add new ones, maybe with the new monetary power that Crunchyroll now have behind them with Sony, it'd be an interesting thing to analyze and just look at down the road. Does a foray into a streaming platform maybe open Sony's mind? Maybe let them see the long-term potential of a Game Pass style thing? Because that's what Xbox sees with Game Pass. They see the long-term future. They don't see the here, right now of monetary value as well as revenue. And it almost makes me think that once Sony starts to see the value of streaming platforms like Crunchyroll, maybe they open up their eyes to an idea of a Sony Game Pass or a PlayStation Plus Game Pass or whatever they would want to trademark and call that specific service. But I think it does bode an interesting question for them and an interesting, data analysis for them as a company if Crunchyroll was successful under them, as I hope they assume it would be after paying almost $1 billion. But I think that's the main thing. I think it's a response to Microsoft, but not a response in a winning console or anything. It's a business response. Another major tech company bought a big property. You need to increase your company somehow. Let's go out, let's find something to kind of do a response to add more revenue to our company. They identified Crunchyroll, which I think is a great choice for them. And one final thing, what are the stock implications on this deal? Now, Sony being a publicly traded company, but also AT&T does have a slight role in this deal as well, also teaming up with Sony to kind of help fund the purchase. Now, the major thing is I do think it will help Sony's long-term earnings potential as a stock. Of course, bringing in a new entity. Also, it may have a little boom to Sony right now. However, of course, with the current issues we have going on around the world, stocks, of course, are taking a hit. So it's a little problematic, as I would say, for it to rise. However, I think it's a long-term stock to look at. Sony has the potential to move, to bring in increased revenue with this, that it could be looked to a further growth as a stock. So I think that's one thing. I think, of course, it will have some stock implications. I don't know if right now you'll see the implications, but down the road you definitely will, as I expect with this major purchase, Sony will increase their revenue. So overall, it's an interesting story, and it's an interesting just topic to talk about, to see, what is Sony doing? What is Sony up to? And I think this is a major thing they're up to, and I think it really doesn't signal anything in the gaming world, but it signals something into Sony as a company. They want to make a move, and they're making that move towards streaming. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be bringing more content like this, more gaming/news style content, some more stock kind of content as well. But don't forget to like and subscribe, and check me out on Twitter